Hey guys, Banana Lock here. Welcome back to another Watcher of Realms video. We're gonna be talking about should you summon for this ancient banner that's coming up this weekend, where we have Pope and Kane in the mix. So I did do a showcase of Kane a couple of weeks back when Citra and Erlis were about to be released. So I'll leave that content in the description below if you'd like to check that out to see the full detailed testing of how he is. So yeah, other than that, we have Pope, which is the Arbiter Lord that's coming again for the third time this weekend. And then we also have Kane, who's an Arbiter Northerner that's new to the game. He's a fighter, and we'll talk more about it in detail. But before we jump into that, I just want to say that SmileOne is having some promotions that are coming up this weekend. So they still have that top-up reward that's going on in case you were doing the top-ups last week. But this weekend, they're also doing a couple of more summon packs. So there's rare summons, there's ancients, and you can find out the details in my Discord if you would like. But basically, if you are summoning this weekend and you want to purchase packs, and the best way for you to support the channel is to purchase them through my link in the video description. There's also other stuff like artifact forge materials, so gleaming meteoroids, your recasting hammers, as well as a lot of big rare packs and ancient summoning packs because we do have a Pope banner that's coming up this weekend. So yeah, I'll post the details in my Discord if you're interested, and let's actually get into the video without further ado. So we have Kane and Pope. Let's talk about Pope first because that's the easier thing to get, out of the way. Pope is the only legendary Arbiter Lord at the moment, and a rumor has it that, we are going to be getting a new Arbiter Lord soon. How soon is that? We don't know. That's probably one of the reasons why people are a bit cautious as well, whether they should actually summon for Pope in case the new Arbiter Lord is a power creep that just replaces him entirely. Right now, Pope is not really strong in any particular areas of the game. He's still a top tier unit because at the end of the day, he is the Arbiter Lord, but you're not going to see him as a necessity in most places for his unit. You just want him as a Lord so that you have his Lord skill, which gives you the Lightning Truth, where you can basically use his hammer and cast a global hit across the entire map. And other than that, he's still a very strong powerhouse. A lot of true damage in his kit, Radiant Erosion as well. But the question is really, are we expecting a power creep that's coming to the game, and whether you already have a base copy of him? If let's say you are expecting that, okay, let's talk about Awakenings first. I personally think that A2 is the biggest, A1 and A2 are the biggest Awakenings. A1 gives him 3% rage every time he deals basic attack. And then A2 gives him 5% extra attack for his entire team. So given the fact that he's the only Arbiter Lord that's a legendary at the moment, these are obviously the best awakenings that you can get in terms of value. I mean, A3 is nice, A5 is nice as well, but it's not really a necessity in places like Arena, for instance, where you're using Pope. I think A2 is the big one, so as A1 if let's say you're looking at using him in boss content for that regard. So yeah, that's if you want to chase Awakenings. Then on to the next point, which is if you even have a base copy of him. If let's say you don't have a base copy of Pope, then it starts to get a bit tricky. It then becomes sort of a gamble. Do you actually want to risk it in terms of, just waiting for the next Arbiter Lord? Or do you want to actually summon for Pope and progress in some areas of the game? If let's say you're looking to summon for Pope, my guess is that you're probably needing him as a Lord in some areas like Arena. Other than that, it could be GVG as well, or maybe some Codex stages, but you're definitely not going to be using him for things like Abyss or Void Rift, because for Void Rift, there's so many other options. So it really boils down to Arena, GVG, and Codex in my opinion. If let's say you need that push to actually get Alex and Pope is that last missing key, then by all means go ahead and actually summon for him. But in my opinion, if you already have that base copy, A1 and A2 is nice, but not a must-have. In all honesty, I think it's better off to save, because we'll now get onto the next topic, which is Kane. So Kane is a fighter. His stats are horrible. 3.4k, 15k HP, nothing too crazy, and we'll talk about why more in a bit. But in a nutshell, this guy is going to be the first ever cost regenerator that's a legendary. So Darlin, Cyrene, and Navi at the moment, this guy is going to be the legendary equivalent. So you can see in his talent, when deployed, 4 stacks of Shard of Deception. So this increases his basic attributes by 10%, and each ultimate cast basically reduces the Shard of Deception stack by 1. And after 10 seconds, he restores 7 costs, and if the hero is in the Lord faction team, which is either Arbiter or Northerners, he restores an additional 3 costs, and afterwards triggers cost regen 1 time for every 20 seconds. So yeah, this is basically how it works in terms of cost regen, but there's some tricky bits that we'll talk about later. A1, you can see he does a multi-hits. You can use him behind a tank, so 100% damage to 5 enemies, maxed out is 120. And this is his passive, 12 seconds cooldown, 300% damage up to 5 enemies, 5 enemy targets a hit, and then knocks them back. And then Killer Instinct, when HP drops below 50%, gains damage reduction for 20% and restores 5% each time dealing damage. And ultimate, very straightforward, 1000 damage up to 10 enemies a hit, and this goes down to a 650% cost. And then Arena just increases his damage by 15%. So you can see, pretty straightforward. He has burst in his kit, he has some knockback, but this knockback is not reliable enough for us to consider using him in a gear dungeon, for instance. It's just an extra thing that's nice to have. And then some extra survivability in his kit, but in my opinion, you'll never have to use this talent of his, because you'll most probably be, tracking him in the back at all times. So Awakenings, Shard of Deception stack increases by 2, and then redeployment time goes down to 15 seconds. A2 is the extra -2 cost. This doesn't look like much, but in my opinion, this is one of the biggest awakenings for him, because right now he's at 12 costs. You're not going to be able to deploy him right away unless you have him at A2, which is where Cyrene and Darlin are at cost-wise, which is at 10. Then A3, ultimate deals extra damage, and then there's some vulnerability. A4 is extra attack, and then A5 is just a shield with that passive that gives that survivability. So here's my gripe with him. At the moment, if you're using teams, Arbiter teams for instance, you're gonna already have Velara that's at 12 costs, which means that, Kane is not really that useful in that case. If you actually substitute him in, then you're gonna have to wind up removing some stuff. So let's actually take a look at some defense teams at the moment. And if we actually take a look at the leaderboard here, AoE teams, or even anti-air teams for that instance, yeah, you can look at this here. If let's say I to squeeze Kane in here, what do I wind up replacing? I can't replace Diao-Chan because it's inspiration. I can't replace Erlis as well, because Erlis is the healer in this team. And same for the top, all of these are the damage dealers. Pope is the Lord. If you remove him, then the problem comes where, his cost is also a problem, where he's going to regenerate 7 instead of 10, which is going to slow you down in terms of deployment. So that's the first problem that we have. There's no place to actually squeeze him in. The one place that I found him that could be potentially useful is actually single target arena. You're going to run him in some weird Pope team, with Casil and all that. So that's one thing to take note of. Second thing is that to reach parity with him, with the other equivalent cost regenerators, you need him at A2. And bear in mind, this is not a normal common legendary that you can just summon any time of the day. This is actually a guy that, you need to summon off ancients, and non-lots are not guaranteed anyway. So to get him to parity, you need him at A2 at the bare minimum, which I think is god awful. His A3 is nice, but to be honest, most of the other units that are doing the damage will actually be doing most of the work. So do you actually still need that A3? I'm not too sure. And can you even get there? And is it even worth it to get there? Because the banner that he's placed right beside is actually Pope. And most people already have Pope at A5. And this guy is also not guaranteed. So should you really be wasting summons for him? I'm honestly not sure. I'll probably do another showcase where we actually use him in single target arena again to see whether he's good. But in all honesty, I think this guy's a skip. I cannot find anywhere that will actually use him. His ultimate is great in terms of being able to one-shot the first AoE wave. But after that, it becomes redundant. He doesn't hit air, so you're not going to use him for anti-air for sure. The only options are AoE or single target. Single target, which we're going to test out, but other than that, there's really not much options for him to be used anywhere. Maybe in some cases in Malrix, like devs recommended, but then again, I feel like it's just a waste of a slot. Don't really see cost being an issue in Malrix unless they release some new modifiers that revolve around cost regen. So that's why I was saying that even though you don't have Pope or you want to chase Awakenings, should really summon because Kane is the units that pet next to him, and you really don't see a use for him in any case. So in summary, if you don't have Pope, you probably have to go for this banner if you want to do some progression in terms of GVG, Codex, as well as Arena. But if you already have Pope, my take is to probably skip this banner, even though if you want to go for the A1, A2, unless you're Kraken, I would think that it's much better to skip and wait for a much better banner, because until other content creators can find use cases for Kane, to me, he's just an extra unit to dilute the pool at the moment. So yeah, that's give it for the video. Once again, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions on whether or not you should summon, leave it down in the comment section below. And once again, if you're doing any top-ups this weekend, feel free to use my SmileOne link. That's the best way for you to support the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.